Cool.
Hi, my name is Neville and today I'm going to be talking to you about Australia. Melbourne, Australia is my hometown. I've lived here for the majority of my life. However, I have visited some other countries. I have visited England, France, Italy and America. One thing I've learned from my travels is that not that many people know a lot about Australia, so today I'm going to inform you a little bit on Australia. Australia was claimed by the British in 1770 by Captain James Cook when he landed in Botany Bay. It was originally used as a prison settlement as the English prisons were overflowing. Australia became a federation in 1901. The capital of Australia is Canberra, and a little known fact is Australia is the smallest continent on Earth. A little bit about Victoria, my home state. Even though Victoria is the smallest state, it is the second most populous state after New South Wales. It was founded in 1803 and is the home of the Australia's favourite sport, Australian rules football. On to my hometown, Melbourne. Melbourne is the capital of Victoria and was founded in 1835. However, it wasn't recognised as a city until 1847 when Queen Victoria declared it so. Also, Melbourne was home to the 1956 Olympic Games. Some of the other places I've lived briefly in my life are in London in England, back up here. I lived there briefly for say about a week or so with my... Compared to Melbourne where I live, it's fairly similar in sort of food and culture as such. Even they're more geared towards soccer as we're more Australian rules football. Also the living conditions are a little bit different. They're more sort of apartment or condo sort of styles, whereas we in Australia are more geared towards housing, although we are leaning more towards apartment nowadays. Another place I've recently lived is Fort Smith, Arkansas. Down here. I've recently spent 15 months there, and it's very different to Australia. It's a place where I lived. It's a small town. A lot more farming culture, redneck culture as such. Very limited choice of food and culture other than farming. I can't think of anything to say, literally that. I literally couldn't think of anything else to say. Hi, my name is Neville and today I'm going to be speaking about my home country of Australia. I'm from Melbourne, Australia. I've lived there for the majority of my life. However, I have visited some other places in my travels. I've been to London, Italy, France, and a few places in America. And one thing I've learnt on my travels is that not that many people know much about Australia, so today I'm going to inform you on that. In 1770, Captain James Cook claimed Australia for the British Empire. They landed at Botany Bay. Australia was originally used as a prison settlement as the English prisons were overflowing. Australia became a federation in 1901. The capital is a place called Canberra, and a little known fact is Australia is the smallest continent on Earth. In a recent study by the Worldwide Quality of Life Index, Australia's political and economical advantages are complemented by its welcoming attitude and excellent quality of life. In 2009, Australia's quality of life was ranked 6th in the world out of 57 key economies, ahead of New Zealand, United Kingdom and the United States. Moving on to my home state of Victoria. Even though it is the smallest state, it is the second most populous state after New South Wales. It was established in 1803, and in 2009 there was approximately 5 million people living in there. On to my hometown of Melbourne. Melbourne is the capital of Victoria. It was founded in 1837, but was not declared a city until 1847 by Queen Victoria. Melbourne is rich in the arts, commerce, education, sporting and tourism industries. Also, it was home to the 1956 World Olympic Games. Some of the other places I've lived in my life is in recently Fort Smith, Arkansas. Arkansas is a very different place compared to Melbourne. It is more sparsely populated, with a lot of the culture being dedicated towards farming. Another difference is the lack of food choicings. A lot of their restaurants over there are geared towards junk fast food takeaway places. Where over here we have a lot of those, but we also have a lot of fine dining and little local cafes. Another place I've lived briefly is in New York with my parents. We were there for about a week and a half, 2 weeks. We lived in an apartment building, discovered that there's a lot more range of food and clothing items there, although the city is a lot more fast-paced and seems a lot less friendly and everything, as everyone's always on the move and there's just a colder environment as such. Another place I've lived briefly was in England with my parents once again. We were living in an apartment there for a brief while. Found that the housing is more geared towards apartments and condos, whereas in Melbourne we live more in houses. Another similarity though is that their food and clothing choices are more similar to ours compared to over in America, although their sporting culture is geared more towards soccer and rugby, whereas we're more geared towards our own go to sport, Australian rules football. In conclusion, I'd like to sum up by saying Australia is a unique place. There is nowhere quite like it on earth. From the large cities to the deserts, there's always something new around the corner. And I wanted to say I'd rather live nowhere else than Australia. Thank you.
So how long did that one have to be?
3 to 5.
3 minutes 40 seconds.